How to properly handle knights. In this video we will review all the faction units, combat formations, tactics and tips. This tactical guide is based on the videos in the following playlist, a series of incredible battles between all the factions. Don't miss them. Okay, let's get started. Unfortunately, the Knight faction doesn't have a level 1 unit. Okay, well, they do have one, but we agree that they are not very helpful to the faction, right?
Yes.
They are very slow and weak. They are completely overshadowed by the level 1 troops of the other factions. I usually only use them as human shields to protect the archers only the first few days. The faction's only ranged unit. Obviously a gem of the knight's army. Rangers should normally be placed at one end of your army, in the top or bottom corner. That depends mainly on the enemy army. Let's look at the following example. When facing an army of 2 or 3 flying units, the position of the rangers doesn't usually matter too much, because they will be blocked anyway, but it is better to place them in the middle, so all your units can protect them. Also against an army with many melee units, as in the following example, it's better to position the rangers farther away from these units. This way, they will take longer turns to reach the rangers. This gives us enough time to weaken them before entering battle. And finally, against an army with more ranged units, the AI will usually take a defensive stance, protecting its archers. So in these types of situations, the rangers should take advantage of the opportunity to damage the enemy, while the champions and crusaders reach out to block their archers. The truth is, it's not one of my favorite units, and in normal games I tend not to use it in my team. I prefer to replace it with a second stack of champions or rangers, and if I am really lucky, I will replace them with dragons or titans, hahaha. However, its speed of 5 makes it quite playable, as it reaches the other end of the battlefield in the second round. But where should we place it in the formation? As in the previous case, it will depend on whether we are going to be the aggressive or defensive faction. If we are facing a faction like the Warlocks, who will be the aggressive faction due to their many flying units, it is best to place the slowest units in the middle. A good tactic is to place the rangers in the middle and the veteran pikemen next to them. This way we can protect them. A bad position would be to place the rangers in the top corner and the veteran pikemen in the opposite corner. The latter cannot protect the rangers. Against factions like barbarians or sorcerers that have 2 ranged units, the AI typically adopts a defensive stance, so we must take the aggressive role in the battle. In these battles, I usually position the veteran pikemen in front of their ranged units, so they can block them in the second round. I really like this unit. It's true that it's very similar to the veteran pikemen. However, in damage and attack it improves quite a bit. This makes this unit quite usable in a normal match as part of the ultimate team. So, how do we use this unit? I think it's similar to the veteran pikemen, but there's something to keep in mind. Since they have the same speed, you have to choose carefully which one to position on the left or above to play first. The normal thing is to position the Master Swordsmen first so they can weaken the enemy first. So against factions with a lot of flying units like Warlocks, I usually use this formation. The Master Swordsmen are placed above the Rangers to protect them, and the veteran pikemen under the Rangers with the fastest troops of the faction in the corners. This way all my units participate in the battle in the first round. Against factions with many ranged units, we also place them in front of the enemy ranged units. If they are separated, then we will have to separate the units. It's usually better to attack the strongest ranged units and perhaps send a single stack against the weakest ranged unit to nullify it. Champions are the key piece of the faction. Perhaps not the strongest unit in terms of stats, but their flexibility allows us to create many strategies, thanks primarily to their speed. From protecting the Rangers by occupying 2 hexes, attacking in the first round, or taking out retaliation from powerful enemy units. The possibilities are endless. Oh, but it doesn't cross the entire battlefield like the Phoenix. I know, the Phoenix is better, but if we position the champion correctly in combat formation, we won't have any problems. So, where do we position the champions? If we are facing a faction with a lot of flying units like Warlocks, we have 2 options. The first is if they don't have dragons, we can use them to protect the Rangers or position them in front of the Centaurs to attack them in the first round. On the other hand, if the enemy has black dragons, we also have 2 options. One is to stay on the defensive, and the other is to position ourselves in front of the dragons and attack them to prevent their retaliation in the first round. Then, safely attack the dragons with all units. In the final part of this video, we will look at many specific cases to determine when it's best to use this strategy. In battles against enemies with many ranged units, where the AI will take a defensive stance, we will have to go out and attack. Against sorcerers, for example, I don't know if it's a good idea to use the champions to attack the phoenixes, because we don't have another unit to take advantage of their loss of retaliation. So I think it's better to just advance. And finally, we come to the best unit of the faction. It is perhaps the weakest level 6 unit, speaking only of statistics, but its double attack ability is simply incredible. It's a very fast unit, allowing it to cross the battlefield in 2 rounds. It's the terror of the necromancers, winning battles single-handedly against them. Honestly, this unit surprised me a lot in battles. Despite the AI focusing on it, it managed to survive the first round of attacks. So, how do we use the Crusaders in battle? Against factions like the Warlocks with black dragons, it's essential to try to kill as many dragons as possible. One strategy is to attack the dragons with champions in the first round, to take away their retaliation and allow the Crusaders to attack them safely. There are a couple of situations where this isn't a good idea, but we will cover those situations in the final part of this tactical guide. Against factions like barbarians, sorcerers and wizards with many ranged units, we should place the Crusaders in one of the corners. With his high speed, he has no problem blocking ranged units in the second round. If the enemy units don't attack and only protect their ranged units, then we simply advance. For example, if the AI places level 6 unit next to a ranged unit, then with the champion we block the war troll and attack the Cyclops. Then with the Crusaders we double attack the Cyclops without retaliation. Okay, let's get to the strategy. But first, if this guy helps, I ask for your support to continue creating content for this fantastic game. Now that we've seen many formations for the Knight faction, let's look at the particularly good strategy for defeating large armies. I call this strategy all for one.
One for all for one.
What does it consist of? It consists of two general concepts. Focus on the strongest unit and attack more times than the enemy per round. But let's see this better with the following example. In this battle we face the Warlocks and lose the battle. Let's see if with this strategy we can win the battle. First we attack the Black Dragons to leave them without retaliation. And now this round we focus on weakening the dragons. The Master Swordsmen attack from here, and now with the Veteran Pikemen we don't attack the dragons, instead we attack the gargoyles. This way we force the Griffin to attack the Crusaders from this position, and to take damage from the dragons in the next round. In the second round, all attacks must go on the Black Dragons. Excellent. Champions are key for the Crusaders to attack without fear. Very good. Finally. Okay, now with the Master Swordsman, I prefer to attack the Minotaur Kings. Very hard battle. At this point, the only thing that matters is attacking the Hydras. Okay, a fantastic victory. So the strategy does work. Finally, let's look at some tips for specific battles. Never use rangers against dragons, phoenixes, and perhaps bone dragons. They are easily blocked, so save them for other battles. This is because rangers are important to conquer enemy castles. Against neutral melee units, especially if they are very slow, I usually split the rangers into 2 stacks and weaken the enemies. In this case, a stack of rangers was left undefended, but it doesn't matter because the enemy is very slow. If they are faster units like the wolves, I prefer to just use a stack of rangers, placing them at one end and protecting them with the rest of my units. When they are weaker, the rest of my troops must finish the battle. Against other stronger units like Minotaur Kings, it is better to hold the defense. Is it a good idea to attack the Black Dragons with the champions in this battle? I don't think so, because if we do, we will be attacked by the Hydras and Minotaur Kings, unlike the battles where I showed the all-for-one strategy. The first round, the champions made one attack and received 3 attacks. That's no business. And in this other battle, is it a good idea to attack the Black Dragons with the champions? I don't think so. Because of the order in which the troops are located, the champions attack first, then the gargoyles, and then the crusaders, before the Black Dragons, so we couldn't attack the Black Dragons, and so the champions attack on the Black Dragons is wasted. Conclusion: the Knight faction is a faction where every wrong move can turn victory into defeat. Do you think it's a very tactical faction? I will read you in the comments. If you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe. See you in the next video. Goodbye.